Here's a number one mistake I see people making in criminal cases. The number one mistake that people make in criminal cases is talking to the police. Now, this comes up in state and in federal cases, and it comes up in a lot of different scenarios. A police officer might stop you, ask where you're coming from, what you were doing. But if that stop is late at night and after you've had a drink, those questions are really geared towards an officer investigating whether or not you were driving while intoxicated. Similarly, you might have an officer show up at your door or your place of work, and the very fact that they've shown up is going to put you on edge, make you nervous, and perhaps even if you're completely innocent, in that moment, you won't be able to remember every relevant detail. But remember, what you say to the police is going to be held up as your version of the truth. That's certainly how they're going to see it. So even if by mistake you leave something out, if you bring it up later, the police are going to say, well, that's mighty convenient that you've recalled it now. In the federal system, you might run into a situation where agents are showing up at your door and they're asking you questions. And it's sometimes unclear as to whether or not you are a witness to something or whether or not you're the target of an investigation. Very often these conversations are happening at your place of work or at your home, or because an officer or an agent called you into their office. Notice in all of these scenarios, you're free to walk away. You're not actually in custody. And the police or agents do this for a specific reason. If you're not in custody, the Miranda warnings don't apply. In other words, the officer will not tell you that you have a right to remain silent, that you have a right to an attorney. So they're taking advantage of that fact and asking you some open-ended questions. Don't read into the fact that an arrest may not take place immediately. That doesn't mean you're off the hook. Instead, the officers or agents are preserving that conversation. They're going to be able to go to a judge and say, look, we had this conversation. After the conversation, we didn't even arrest them. They were completely free to go. It was not a custodial interrogation. And because it was not a custodial interrogation, the Miranda warnings don't apply. They're focused on getting your statements into court. Even if you're innocent, it is a mistake to talk to the police. Do your very best to give as little information as possible. The best response if the police come to your door or try to have a conversation with you is to politely decline to answer questions. To say, I'll have my attorney reach out to you. Now, if you're on the side of the road or if you've been pulled over, of course the officer has the ability to ask for your identification. So you should provide proof of insurance and your driver's license if asked. But beyond that, you're not obligated to answer any questions. Keep that in mind and exercise your right to remain silent. This video was made in response to a question we received on this channel. If you have a question about criminal law in Texas or federal criminal law, drop a comment below and we'll be sure to answer that. You can also check us out at versestexas.com.